is Alyssa Huey.
And my name is Dave Roberts.
And we are the coordinators for this year's event. It has grown to become the largest student-run business conference in the nation, and that is due to the great attendees we have, so thank you for being here. Today, you all will have the opportunity to connect with and learn from business professionals who are experts in their fields. We encourage you to participate in discussion, grow your knowledge, and develop your personal skills throughout the day. Our 16-member planning team has been working diligently over the past 10 months to unite over 50 successful men and women from across the country under one roof to share their expertise as panelists, speakers, and sponsors. The professionals here today were carefully selected as their values align with those of Creighton University and the Heider College of Business, and we look forward to learning from their experiences. As in years past, this event is able to capture a wide scope of business experiences by welcoming all majors, not only in the business school. We challenge you all to keep open minds to new or unfamiliar ideas, to make connections with some of the terrific speakers and sponsors of the event, and to seize the opportunity of immersing yourself in the breadth of knowledge offered here today.
Today we have the privilege of hosting 3 business leaders for the first time ever who embody our theme of cultivating your own definition of success. Their careers are nothing short of successful, and each of them have defined success differently. Our first speaker, Mr. Julian Young, is the co-founder of Julian Young Business Advisors and is an Omaha native. We welcome Ms. Marianne O'Brien, CEO of OBI Creative, as our featured breakout session leader during session 1. Our closing keynote speaker, Mr. Kevin O'Malley, is the CEO of Corporate Travel Management, where he forged a redefinition of travel management during a global pandemic. We look forward to hearing from all 3 of our speakers during this year's Business Symposium. We also welcome over 50 panelists and 30 sponsors from around the country that we hope will both inform and challenge your understanding of business. Each panel and speaker have the purpose of serving our greater theme today: what's your definition? Today will be filled with opportunities for students and professionals alike to network and learn from each other's experiences. We are confident that you will have an unforgettable experience.
We'd like to thank our sponsors who have made this day possible. You can find them at the networking tables in the atrium and the hallway leading to the panel sessions. To find the order of today's events, scan the QR codes available on the screen and in various places around CHI Event Center. Each individual panel session will also provide a QR code to learn more about your panelists and connect with them. While you're walking around, also join us in answering some of our interactive station questions or placing a pin on the map we have in the hallway leading up to the panel rooms. Throughout the day, we also have 3 giveaway opportunities, as you have 3 chances to win HomePods from our very own IJ Apple Store. You must be here through the end of lunch session to be eligible to win. At this time, we'd like to invite Dr. Anthony Hendrickson, Dean of the Heider College of Business, to provide his opening remarks.
Thanks, Alyssa and David. Well, I threatened that I was going to go for 45, 50 minutes, and Alyssa said, "Oh, well, that's okay. You can just put us back to sleep." And so I obviously won't do that. I do want to take a couple minutes and thank each of you for coming. I also want to thank our sponsors who've joined us and the speakers that will be hearing from. This is a great day, a great event. I also want to take a moment. We're going to recognize Don Waite and the Waite Leadership Program later on at the luncheon, but I do want to recognize Pat Waite for coming and joining us. Don's son, as you know, Don passed away recently, and this event really is spurred from Don's philanthropy and giving to the Anna Tyler Waite Leadership Program. And as you know, the level 4 leaders take upon themselves then to put on this event. And so we appreciate, Pat, you joining us, and we're forever grateful for the philanthropy and generosity of the Waite family to help us be able to make this happen. So what's the definition? And I hesitate to say this because some of you know what my definition of success is, which is I typically say I don't want to beat the competition. I want to follow them home and burn their house down. Sometimes I add a little other to that, but I'm a little hyper competitive, and so I don't want to just win. I want to win big. So no mercy rule from me. But I'm happy to do that in a very Jesuit fashion with lots of cura personalis and welcoming all men and other men and women to join me in that process. If you'd like to strike a match too, bring some gasoline, we'll do that to the competition. So, but we all have different definitions, and I think this is an opportunity for all of us to think about and take time. That's one of our higher mindsets is reflection. That's a huge Jesuit characteristic. I think some of you have heard me say that in my career, in my first job, I led a group of people, and I was about 8 months out of school, and I found that the team that I was leading, some of those people had 20 years of experience, and the partner that I worked for asked me, said, "Do you have any questions?" I said, "Well, I'm just a little nervous about the fact that I'm leading this group, and they have so much more experience than me. Some of these people have 20 years of experience." And he said something that has stuck with me, and I would share with you. And he said, don't ever confuse 20 years of experience with 1 year's experience 20 times over. And if you think about that, that's really important because, in fact, they were good people, but they hadn't taken time to reflect and think about how they could do things differently the next time. And so today is one of those reflective days for you to stop and say, what is my definition? What is it that's important to me? Put those things into perspective and take time to reflect. And as you go through your career, many of you know the Jesuits do something every day called an examen, and it's basically taking a moment to be alone with God and to say, what happened good in my day? What happened bad? How can I repeat the good things, eliminate the bad things, and make tomorrow a better day than today? And I think if each of us do that on a regular basis, we'll see that we can become better tomorrow than we are today. And you're here today so that tomorrow you're going to be a better business person, a better person. And so we're going to hear from speakers to help us do that. So thank you for coming and joining us. Alyssa.
Thank you, Dean Hendrickson. And at this time, it is our pleasure to introduce you to our first keynote speaker, Mr. Julian Young.
The Entrepreneur's Coach, Mr. Julian Young, a man whose commitment to teaching aspiring small business owners in North Omaha began after he turned his back on a life of crime and lifted himself up. He flunked out of Wayne State twice and had no larger goal except earning $1 from his legal enterprise. Through force of will, he shed his old life, stopped selling drugs, finished school, and embraced the church, eventually becoming a minister while in his mid-20s. Running his own ministry in North Omaha, Young seemed to realize that there are other ways to transform communities besides sermonizing, and soon he began to preach the basics of entrepreneurship. Today, Young is the owner of a coffee shop franchise in North Omaha, and perhaps more importantly, the founder of the Start Center for Entrepreneurship, a nonprofit organization he launched in 2013 that teaches aspiring, largely minority small business owners vital lessons in entrepreneurship. We are so lucky to have him here today. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Julian Young.
Thank you. Okay, good morning. I'm on, is this mic on too? Maybe, am I able to turn this? Because they've got a mic on me. Okay, good morning everybody. Let's try that one more time. Good morning. One more time so I believe you. Good morning. Good morning to you. I want to take take an opportunity to thank Creighton University and the great student business leaders and for having me here. It's a tremendous opportunity. A little early here in the morning, but that's okay. I truly am honored to speak to you all this morning. I think you have a very powerful concept for what this conference is about. The idea that, what is your definition of success? I'm gonna walk you through a couple things, share my story with you. Hopefully parts of it can impact you regardless of who you are or where you are in your life or where you're from. We all have a story. I'm gonna share mine. And I think it's important that we embrace our story, no matter who we are or where we're from. I used to get very self-conscious when people would talk a little bit about my past, and especially if I hadn't told people about it. So I'd have to call people on the phone later and go, "Now that's the past, I've changed now, I've changed. And I realized that my story is who I am. And so I'm gonna share a little bit of that with you, and I want you to think about your story. I want you to think about your life and what brought you to where you are today. The concept of what I wanna talk about tonight, this morning, I should say, boy, I'm already thinking about this evening, is a lifetime of decisions. A lifetime of decisions. And I want to talk to you about 6 maxims for achieving a successful life. All right, so let's see if I can remember to click these slides as needed. Let's get into the first principle. For all you note takers, I'll try to go a little bit slow. The first principle I want to throw at you is whatever you sow, that is what you are going to reap. Whatever you sow, that is what you are going to reap. The gentleman shared a little bit about my history. Maybe I can expound on it a little bit. I think by the time I was 18, I was facing a lot of different felony charges. And early on got tied up in drug dealing, got tied up in running the streets, and got tied up into a lot of things that shaped me into who I had become. And by the grace of God, I had a merciful judge who challenged me and told me, I'm gonna give you one more chance to change your life. And the crazy part about that is, I was on probation and I had violated my probation 8 times. And my probation officer kept telling me, he said, Julian, after the first few violations, he said, look, if you keep violating your probation, I'm going to have to report the next the next time you do it, I'm going to have to report it to the courts. And in that process, the courts can possibly revoke your probation and then throw you into jail or prison for the original time you were facing. So, you know, when my probation officer told me that, I thought he was just going to report the last probation, but he actually ended up reporting all 8 probations. I was like, man, I didn't know you were going to tell them everything. And it put me in a position to where the judge looked me in the eyes and he challenged me that it was time for me to make a decision. Now, my concept for today about a lifetime of decisions, it comes from the reality that a lot of people ask me, well, how did you end up in that position? Because I couldn't think of, in my mind, one big terrible thing I had done, but it was just the result of a lot of stupid decisions. I just kept doing the same things over and over and over again that kind of led me to that position. And to me, life is kind of that way. A lot of times, our failures, our losses, our greatest struggles It's kind of that death by 1,000 cuts type of deal. And I think one of the principles that changed me and transformed my life is this first principle, is whatever you sow, that is what you will reap. Sounds very simple, I know. And I was thinking to myself, when I was preparing my presentation, I said, I got to be more impressive than this. But it's all that would come to me, and I'm going to tell you why. The more that you go through life, and the better you get at understanding that, you recognize your power and your ability to shape your tomorrow. You recognize that you have the ability to change. And that's a powerful thing, because people sometimes say, we don't change, or people don't change. But that's not true. But change is a challenging thing. It's a difficult thing. It can be an ugly thing. But you have the ability to make a decision that will empower a better tomorrow, a better next month, a better next year. So I want you to really think about that and to let that sink in. Whatever I sow, that is what I'm going to reap. One more principle on this. The day that we opened our Scooters Coffee franchise, my wife and I are the first African-American owners of a Scooters Coffee franchise. And the day that I opened my franchise, a gentleman came to see me and chat with me, a guy by the name of Willie Thiessen. Anybody heard of that guy? He's literally the Godfather. So, and my wife, not recognizing Mr. Thiessen, she told me afterwards, because it was a very, 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 very exciting day, very crazy day. A lot of people, a lot of excitement in the community. So I wasn't able to talk with everyone, but obviously Mr. Thiessen is one of those people I would want to speak with. And afterward, my wife told me, she said, yeah, you know, there was a gentleman that that wanted to chat with you, but you were I think I was doing an interview with one of the news stations, I'm not sure, but she said, and I said, well, what was his name? And she told me his name. I was like, oh my God, you didn't tell me Willie Thiessen was here to be here. And the reason, what happened after that is he came back maybe, I think maybe a month or so later. And as we were talking, I shared something with him. When I first changed my life, when I made the decision to change, I made the choice that I wanted my life to go in a different direction. The first job that I was given, listen to this, I got a job at Godfather's Pizza. I want to talk to you about sowing and reaping. And the job that I got at Godfather's Pizza, I was so happy to get a job because nobody would hire me because of my record. So I showed up and I said, look, I'll sweep floors, I'll mop the floors, I'll clean the counters, I'll clean the restrooms, I'll do the stuff that nobody wants to do, just please give me a job, all right? And they gave me a job. And within 3 weeks of working that job, I didn't know much about it because I was doing a lot of cleanup stuff, helped out a little bit with the buffet and making some pizzas, but I didn't know the job. And one day I was sweeping the floor, and I looked up, and the entire staff walked out. The entire staff quit. There was 2 people left, me and one of the assistant supervisors. And apparently, the staff was frustrated. They didn't think they were being paid fair. And there had been a staged uprising before I got there. And so that was the day that everybody decided they were going to quit. And so everyone quit. Can you believe that? Think about that. Everybody quit. Now it's about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We still haven't gone through the dinner rush, and there's 2 of us. And the only thing we're thinking in our mind is, who can we get to come in? We're calling one person. They're like, nope, I quit. We call another person. They're like, nope, I quit. We call another person. They're like, nope, I quit. And I think we finally got one of the part-time delivery guys. He came. He came to help us out. Somehow we made it through that day. And what ended up happening is we had to do that for several days, and I got a call from the owners of the business. They lived about 2 hours away. They called me into a meeting, and they said, Julian, we need you to run the store. And I was like, what? I was like, you know, I can make some dough, you know what I'm saying? And I can put some toppings on the pizza. I can make a pizza. A brother could slang some pizzas. I can slang some pizzas. But I can't run this store. You want me to run the store? I said, okay, well, you want me to run it until you find someone? They're like, no, we want you to be the general manager. So I'm thinking to myself, this is crazy. This is insane. And I'm like, I go home. I said, well, let me think about it. I go home that night, and the only thing that was playing in my head is that I had an opportunity. I had to make a decision. So I made a decision. I called the owners the next morning. I said, I'll do it. What do I got to do? They said, well, you got to. I was used to coming to work, 2, 3 o'clock. And work. They said, well, you got to be here at 5 in the morning every day. I said, 5 o'clock? My God. Man, I don't go to sleep till 1 or 2 o'clock, He said, you got to be here at 5. I said, why in God's name does anyone have to be up at 5 to do anything? And he said, well, you got to get up and cook the dough. The dough takes, 2 or 3 hours to cook. You got to get in there. You got to make that dough from scratch. We make a dough from scratch every day. You know this, Julian. I'm like, okay. Well, by the time I get to work, the pizzas are usually, already pre-made. So I didn't understand this process. So I'm thinking, okay, I can get up in the morning. I can make dough. I can do that. I can make dough in the morning, okay? But what else do I have to do? Well, you got to be there to take the delivery truck. Well, you got to be there to do this. They started running through me all the standard responsibilities of the general manager. And I'm telling you guys, I thought I was going to have a panic attack. I thought to myself, what have I gotten myself into? Long story short, I embraced that opportunity. And we grew the sales of that store by 30 to 40%. We went back. We found out what some of the issues were. Grew that store to become a very successful store, and the family that owned the company ended up selling it. It was a very tough and difficult assignment. The purpose of me sharing that with you is I want you to understand that the day that I opened my Scooters franchise, it clicked. When I was standing there a few weeks after speaking to Willie Thiessen, I said, you want to know something crazy, man? The first job that I got when I changed my life, the first job that I got was I got a job at Godfather's Pizza. And I told him about the crazy story. And you know what Mr. Thiessen said to me? He said, well, I guess everything comes full circle. And I thought to myself when I went home, I felt God spoke this to my heart. It's not just full circle. What you sow is exactly what you are going to reap. Does that make sense? I want to share that with you as the first principle. Second principle, you are already a success. Some of you just don't know yet. Some of you just don't know it. I had a dream, I had a vision that I was going to run that Godfather's. When I first got the job, it was a dream. And the dream seemed ridiculous to me. There's a story of a woman named Sarah in the Bible. It says God told her, you're going to have a child at the age of almost 100 years old. And they said she laughed. So when I had a dream that I was going to be running that Godfather's Pizza, I did the same thing. I laughed. Because I didn't have any experience. I didn't know what I was doing. And it just seemed like an impossible task. I want you to think about something. It's not only that when that came to pass, I realized there were greater things ahead for me. Somehow I knew I was always going to be where I'm at. I had this dream. I had this vision inside of me that I was going to be here. And what I realize is, as I've gone through life, making certain decisions, successes and failures, I realize the reason I had the dream, the reason I had the vision, the reason I was praying for success or praying for this to happen or God let this relationship happen or please open this door for me. You know I don't have the connections. You know I don't have the education. I realized something. I was already a success, I just wasn't aware of it. Some of us are looking everywhere outside of ourselves, looking everywhere for success, not realizing that everything that you need to be successful, you already have. You're already a success. The question is, do you know that? Do you believe that? Or do you believe that there's someone else in the world that has the power to wave a wand for you and make you successful? Do you think that there is a super pill you can take? We advise small minority businesses for a living. It's tough work. It's tough advising a community that is behind hundreds of years, everyone else. It's hard advising people who have entrepreneurial dreams but don't have the basics of understanding what wealth is. It's hard trying to coach someone to grow a successful business because they want to have something to pass down to their kids, but 75 to 80% of the demographic we work with, they have never seen successful ownership modeled. They don't have anyone to show them the ropes. They don't have an example to look after. It's extremely difficult work. Here's what I realized. When we're talking with these entrepreneurs, oftentimes when we get ready to tell them something, we'll look at their business and we'll realize they're already doing that. It's humbling, trust me. We'll get ready to do this, help them in their business, and we'll realize, well, they're already doing that. They'll bring their idea to the table and we'll realize, well, in some way, shape, or form, they're already doing that. And I honestly thought my job was to make them successful. And I think things started to click. We started to understand when we realized they're already a success. They just don't know it. What we do is we work at getting them to see that about themselves. We try to get them to understand that their idea has merit. Get them to understand that their idea has value. Get them to understand, look at all the things that you've been through, that you went through, that got you here. So we became great at advising. We became great at the work that we do when we realized they're already a success. Our job is to get them to see that and to realize that about themselves. All right. Third principle, time is our most overlooked asset. Time is our most overlooked asset. I have no idea where I'm at on time and how long I have. Can somebody just kind of wave a red flag back there when I kind of... 10 to 15. I got 10 to 15 left? All right, thank you. My bio said that I used to be a minister, so when y'all hear me, that means I got about 4 or 5 more times to get ready to close. Time is our most valuable asset, our most overlooked asset. Time. Can everybody say that word with me? Time. All right, just a little bit more passion. Time. Oh, okay, good. All right, there we go. Time is our most overlooked asset. The beauty of time is it can be your best friend or it can be your worst enemy. I think that oftentimes we go through life, we're so focused on what we have to get done today, which is important. We're so focused on the hustle and bustle that we don't realize that without time, we don't have anything. So the question is, what are you doing to make time as valuable and resourceful as possible? How do you value time? How do you see time? What does time mean to you? I spent so many years thinking I had to prove to people I'm not the past decisions I made. I spent so many years thinking I've got to show people I'm a different person. I need validation. I ran to this mentor. I ran to that mentor. I ran to this person. I ran to that person. And I said, I just want to be validated. I want to be validated. I want somebody to know that I am not a failure, that I'm not my past decisions. And while I was doing that, I was wasting precious what? Precious what? Okay, time that could have been used believing in myself. Time that could have been used building myself. Time that could have been used developing my talents and gifts. Time that could have been used telling myself I'm worthy. Time that could have been used, all these different things. Understand the first principle. What you sow is what you're going to reap. There's no way around that. I literally took over a failing Godfather's, turned it around. 15 years later, I opened the first African-American owned Scooters Coffee in the country. It is the largest Scooters Coffee in the nation. It is one of the most successful stores they have. And one of the first individuals I spoke to was the guy who started Godfather's Pizza. Now, I know what somebody's thinking. Well, you sold pizza and you reaped coffee, so that ain't really adding up. That's not the point. Coffee goes in your mouth, so does pizza, so does food. Time is your most valuable, but it's often overlooked as an asset. I know you got talents, good. I know you got gifts, good. I know people like you, good. I know you got social media followers, good. I know you got good, great, all right, awesome. But that's not your most valuable. That's not one of the most valuable. Time. How are you using it? I caught COVID earlier this year. And I feel like I'm a pretty good, I'm a success guy. I use time the right way. Not when I was in that hospital for 2 months. I spent that, I couldn't even breathe. I couldn't breathe. I was so scared. I was on the phone with my wife almost every hour of the day. Hello? All I could think about, I promise you, only thing I could think about is how I was spending time. I'm a believer that all things work together for the good. I'm a believer that you learn. And I'm not saying God gave me COVID. I would never say that. COVID is an unfortunate reality that we have to deal with. But going through the process, seeing other people who've lost their lives to it, seeing families that have been absolutely just uprooted, shaken, what it's done to the world, being in the hospital for those 2 months, and I was in and out. I'd wake up nights I couldn't even breathe. It's the scariest thing in the world. And then afterwards, it's like it wouldn't go away. It's like after it was gone, it was just things that I couldn't do that I used to do for a long time. One of my mentors is Condoleezza Rice. And we did a call after I'd been in the hospital for COVID. And I was, in my mind, I'm out, okay, let's get back to work, right? Let's go save the world. Let's go change lives. So I'm excited. I'm like, I've got my call. I'm going to speak with Dr. Rice. We're going to talk about how we're going to change the world because she is ridiculously busy. And I don't get to talk to her all the time. So I'm thinking, yes, let's do it. I get on the phone. You know what she says to me? She goes, I go, okay, now, I want to pick up from my last conversation. We got these things to do. She looked at me. She said, you need to rest. She said, you need to rest. She said, you need to relax. You need to take time to take care of yourself. Julian, I understand all this work that's got to get done. I understand all the change that you want to make. But guess what? All the people you want to touch, all the people you want to influence, none of that's going to happen if you aren't well. She was trying to help me understand how to better invest my time. Is time really that valuable to you? I heard the gentleman when he was up here. I truly enjoyed what he was saying. He said, taking time to say, God, what was good about my day? How do you value time? It is, in my opinion, our most overlooked asset. Let me go to the next one. All right. Okay, number 4, be the change you want to see. I don't see anybody waving a flag yet. Okay, all right, my wife said 5, okay. All right. Be the change you want to see. How many of us have heard that statement? Good. How many of us feel like we're living that out? No one? Can I get one hand? It's interesting. I'm doing what I do for a living because of one reason. It was driving me crazy. It was antagonizing. It was driving me crazy. I couldn't take it. The problem that I saw in my community, it just unloaded all these questions in my head. Why are things like this? That started when I was a kid. And I'm like, why doesn't nobody do anything about this? And why doesn't nobody do anything about that? And who's going to do something about this? When they were reading my bio, and they talked about, well, he started to sermonize the basics of entrepreneurship. That came out of pain. My wife and I wanted to be church planters. We wanted to plant churches. That's because to us, we're like, that's how you serve God, right? We're going to plant churches. And nobody would show up. I'm sorry, that's funny to me because I just think about the fact that, this is a full room, but, we would get rooms and we would market and we'd tell people, come on out, and we'd get there and it'd be about 3 or 4 people and a couple of crickets chirping, so. But every time we hosted a course on entrepreneurship, you know what? The room was filled. And we started to realize, why don't we solve this problem? We've been able to do this. We've been able to have some success with our businesses. We've grown some businesses and learned to make a good living from them. Let's figure out how to pass this information on to other people. So think about that. What is something that's going on in the world that bothers you so bad? Is it a problem that you're called to solve? We teach our entrepreneurs this every single day. You're in business to solve a problem. You gotta figure out what that problem is. If you solve the problem and it's painful, somebody will pay you to solve it and they'll keep paying you to solve it. You got a business. If they only pay you one time to solve it, you don't really have a business. It's a hobby. But my question to you when I say be the change that you want to see, it's not just in the world, it's in your life. And some of us are saying, well, when I get here, I'm going to be like this. And when I get 5 years down the road, no, you can be that. You can be that. If you want to be successful, be that. You want to be a business owner? Be that. You want to be a nicer person? You want to be a nicer person? Do you want to be a nicer person? Be that. Be the change that you want to see. Is that good? Let's go next. We make a living from our giving. We make a living from our giving. I start off talking about what you sow is what you reap. We make a living from our giving. Make a living from our giving. We make a living from our giving. Think about that. We make a living from our giving. What we are giving. I know. No, Julian, I make a living from my job. I get it. You're making an income from your job. You make a living by what you're giving on that job. You make a living by your ability to not just walk past a problem and not do anything about it. I've taken the responsibility in my community. I understand how important it is that I do things a certain way, live a certain way, make certain decisions. It's not always easy. We were at the store several years ago, shopping at JCPenney, and there was this African-American lady, and her kid was, was giving her the business. He was everywhere. He was trying on the shirts, the clothes, everything. He was everywhere. She screamed at him so loud, and she screamed at him so loud, and she was using profanity. She was going off. And prior to that, I had told my wife, I said, in our community, we got to stop with just walking past problems, And so I understood that if no one tells her that this kid is going to become everything that you are saying to him right now, somebody's got to tell her that, right? Somebody's got to plant that seed. But I thought to myself, I don't want to get cussed out. It's like, I just pulled her to the side and I said, ma'am, before I could get 2 words out, she just started bawling. She started talking about her life and everything that was going on and all those different things. I just wanted her to understand that he was going to become everything that she was saying. Let me speed through this. Let me get to the end. Just remember, giving is not just what we give with our hand. It's also giving our time. It's also giving our time. It's our time. Taking the time to tell that mother what you're saying to him now, that's what he's going to become, right? We're not just giving stuff. We can give our time. We can give advice. We can give compliments, right? We make a living by our giving. Please hold that, tuck that into your heart, know that, understand that. The last principle, the outcome is you. The outcome is you. The outcome is you. Everything we just talked about, it's you. That's the power of decisions. What's my definition of success? My definition of success is becoming everything that God created me to be. And my hope is that from day to day, I make enough right decisions to become that. Because at the end of the day, the outcome isn't going to be about what you think about me. It's not going to be the outcome about what's going on here, what's going on there. The outcome is going to be me. It's going to be my life. What started this whole journey for me was realizing that. I remember standing in the courtroom, palms sweating, hoping that the judge would give me another chance. One chance. Give me one shot. He said, why should I give you another chance? I said, so I figured it out. He said, what did you figure out? I said, I don't need to go to prison to learn to make the right decision. And he gave me another chance. My definition of success might be different from yours, might be similar. I want to become everything that God created me to be. And my hope and my prayer every day is that I can make the right decisions day to day that eventually get me there. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
So much.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
I think we should all maybe take Dean Hendrickson's advice and sit on that for a little while. But thank you, Julian, so much for inspiring us today. As a token of gratitude from the Heider College of Business, Creighton University, and our planning team, we offer a gift at your table, and we really appreciate your time today. Let's give it up one more time for Julian Young.
Now, as we continue the day, we encourage you all to begin to form your own definition of success, as we hope it will guide you towards a career that you love. Our theme, What's Your Definition?, was inspired by Creighton's Jesuit values to search for greater purpose through inquiry, collaborating with others, and to learn from your experiences and continuing to reflect on those. It looks like we have about 10 minutes for one quick networking conversation, and then we'll move into our first panel session.
Session 1 will begin promptly at 10 a.m. and then come back to the ballroom at 12:45 p.m. for lunch. Thank you all and enjoy the rest of the day.